All right, my name is Darius Barnes, and this is my literacy history slideshow. I couldn't really use any of the apps that were suggested because they're for Mac and Apple products, and I really don't have a MacBook, so I figured I'd just do it this way and still be able to get the content going. So let me go ahead. Go Dog Go was actually the first book I was able to read on my own. It was a very good reading experience for me. My mom was probably one of the biggest influences as to why I was able to develop my reading skills, but this was the first book that I read on my own, so always remember that. Matt Christopher is one of my favorite authors and the author that got me started with reading that I wanted to read. He wrote a lot of sports books. My mom found this author. I was always the reluctant reader type, so not that I couldn't read, I just didn't like reading. But once I discovered this author, I started picking up books a lot more. So those are just three of some of his books that he's written that I've read. The Year of the Gopher is a book I read in middle school. I don't know why I picked it up. I just kind of picked it up off the shelf one day. And as I started reading it, I was able to really relate to how he felt about how he was going about his day and about his year in middle school. I was kind of an Urkel kid. I mean, I was a good friend, a pretty decent athlete, but not really fond of the females too much. So I was able to really relate to this book. The West End Game, it's kind of a mystery game type book. Had me hooked from the beginning when I started reading it in middle school. So it's one of those books that stands out for me in my memory. Speaking and staying with the mystery theme, I always enjoyed Encyclopedia Brown books. Growing up as a kid, trying to solve the mysteries before looking at the end. I never could, but I always liked the challenge of thinking that I could. And when I grew up, the covers looked like that, but now these are more the updated covers of Encyclopedia Brown. Childcraft, my mom was very big on our education, so she had this, and we still have this in my house back at home. This was what we used to use for research back before the internet, and had to go to the library and actually sign out books. So the Childcraft was something big in my household and kind of a treasure that we have. We also have the Encyclopedia Britannica set as well. Highlights, my mom used to order these, and we would get these every month. I would look forward to reading them and seeing what was the new thing for that month. In particular, the Goofus and Gallant section was always kind of funny to me. Goofus being the guy who's always doing something wrong or immoral, and Gallant always trying to show you what you should be doing. Abiyoyo is definitely my favorite book to read to kids. I try to keep this book on me at all times. When I have my book bag, when I'm working with them, I actually have it, two copies of it. Dr. Stahl actually gave me a copy, so that meant a lot to me. I read this book to the kids in Belize, and they really enjoyed it as well, especially because it's a sing-songy book, and I tend to really get involved with it when I read. Growing up as a reluctant reader, one of the few things that did kind of motivate me was the Book It Pizza Hut program. So if you read a book or something of that nature and was able to get some points, you were able to win a certificate to get a personal pan pizza to Pizza Hut. However, my parents never ever took us, so I always had a bunch of certificates that never got used. My household is we grew up as a Christian in the household, so reading Bible stories was one of the first things that got read to me before I could read. So I knew a lot of the stories, and that kind of helped me with my reading. I would have my finger going across the page and stuff, thinking I was reading, but not really. But it definitely was a major book in my house. And also when we would play Bible sword drill games at church, because I knew where all the scriptures were and was able to read them, I was able to win a lot more prizes than most kids. Berenstein Bears, a classic set of books that were enjoyable for me to read at a very young age, from kindergarten, first and second grade. Very easy, very enjoyable, and always kept me interested. Riff, I discovered Riff when I was in fourth grade and moved to Virginia. I always loved the Riff program because probably every quarter or half a year they would come and you were able to choose a free book. So I generally always chose a Matt Christopher book. but it was a way to encourage kids to read, and that was always something I looked forward to when I was in elementary school, when they would come by and you get to choose a free book. Reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton definitely was an influence for my mom and myself, just getting exposed to different kinds of books. Abby Yo-Yo is actually where she found it after watching Reading Rainbow. Definitely got to see a lot of different books from that perspective, including this one, Ezra Jack Keats' The Snowy Day, which most kids have probably been exposed to. But it was definitely a different kind of book for me. I probably didn't realize at the time the importance of this type of a book, to be exposed to seeing my first black character ever. And Goosebumps, I'm not a guy that likes to be scared. I don't like scary anything. I can do like war scenes and stuff, but I do not do scary or grotesque. And these were books that I never picked up, never have read. I probably don't even know if I will put these in my own personal school library, due to the fact that I'm not that type of guy, even though maybe some of my kids might enjoy it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna actually put it in there, but I never picked up these books, never. I just always skip past them. And also, growing up in my elementary schools, we had the Reed posters. So Shaq was one of my favorite basketball players, and seeing him definitely was kind of an influence. And also LL Cool J, the poster right there, seeing that. So that was always, posters like that were always in my school. And that is my literally history presentation.